Hey everyone, welcome to Taking the Pulse, a healthcare and life sciences podcast. I am Heather Hoops Matthews, here in the studio today with Nexsen Pruet healthcare attorney Matthew Roberts. Matthew, good to be with you.
Good to see you.
And normally we talk about news in the legal field, clients, providers, and what's going on with them. But today we're going to talk about news affecting us, right?
That's right. Some very exciting news.
So tell us about it.
So this is probably the biggest news we've had on the podcast since we started. It's Nexsen Pruet is merging with Maynard Cooper Gale, a large firm based out of Birmingham, Alabama, and so we're going to become a 550 lawyer firm with across 10 states with 24 offices, and we're very excited about it. We think it's a strategic move that benefits both firms. The cultures are very similar. And I'm most excited about the combination of Maynard's and Nexsen Pruet's healthcare practice.
That's right. Bigger is better
Yes.
in this situation,
For sure.
and that's why we're excited to have join us today, both on the podcast and as a family member, I would say now, of Maynard Nexsen, Lauren DeMoss. She is an award-winning healthcare lawyer who's going to tell us some about Maynard's practice, but also about herself. So welcome to the podcast and to the family.
Yeah, Heather, thank you for having me. Matthew, good to see you as well. Appreciate you all
Good to see
asking
you.
me to come on and talk about Maynard's healthcare practice. I want to talk about that first before I talk about myself. So Maynard Cooper, we're located primarily in Birmingham, and we have offices all over the country. But here in Birmingham, we have 7 kind of pure regulatory healthcare attorneys. In addition to kind of the pure regulatory folks, we have about 25 other attorneys here that touch our healthcare clients for various needs. And when I think about Maynard's practice, I obviously could talk for a while, but I'm trying to hit the high points in terms of what we do here. I think one thing to mention is we represent a pretty wide variety of healthcare clients. You have your typical hospitals, health systems, physician group practices. We also have a lot of experience representing private equity companies, nursing homes, hospices, and home health providers, reference laboratories, pharmacies, clinically integrated networks. So it's a pretty broad range of the different provider types that we represent. I think one thing that defines our practice here too is how we work with hospitals and health systems. I think we like to view ourselves as really part of the strategic team. So rather than them coming to us with problems after the fact, we work with them on the front end, whether that be on their 340B program and those ever-changing rules, or if they're looking at Medicare innovation models, helping them structure a bundled payment arrangement or a clinically integrated network, or if they're interested in a joint venture. So I think that's, we like to consider ourselves part of the team when it comes to working with hospitals and health systems. And I think in addition to kind of our typical regulatory practice, and when I say typical regulatory, you think of kind of the bread and butter, fraud and abuse, HIPAA, contractual arrangements. We work a lot with healthcare transactions. And I mentioned the private equity platform companies, but we work a lot on both the buy and the sell side when it comes to healthcare providers. And we've been involved in, transactions that involve selling of an entire hospital system or a joint venture with a hospital system client. And so I think the transactional part of our healthcare practice is important to mention. Me in particular, as part of kind of the regulatory team, my practice is a lot of HIPAA, which most people would roll their eyes and say, oh, that's terrible. But I actually really enjoy HIPAA work. And when there's an incident and working with OCR on investigations. In addition to HIPAA, I do a lot with private equity platform clients, with the private equity owners and then with the companies. So that's probably a pretty big part of my practice. And then a lot of kind of basic fraud and abuse, looking at arrangements, determining whether we can move forward. And if the business terms sound good, making sure that we're still compliant with all the healthcare regulatory rules.
Well, it's nice to see you smile when you talk about what you do, Lauren, that's for sure. Matthew, you and I have been here a long time, more than 20 years, and I've watched you build the healthcare practice, lead the healthcare practice. So when Nexsen Pruet started talking with Maynard Cooper and Gale about joining together, what were your initial thoughts?
It was all positive. I had worked with the folks at Maynard before on different deals and had a very positive frame of reference. And the more I got to know about the people like Lauren, the more excited about it and more encouraged I became, because culturally they're very compatible with us. And so when I listened to Lauren talk about their practice and talk about herself, it could be one of 3 or 4 people that we currently work with and have worked with for 10 plus years. So I think the cultural compatibility, the type of practice that they have is very similar to ours. And so we were very interested in that. And then the fact that they cover multiple states beyond the Carolinas, where we're primarily located, was another attractive feature. And so now with this combination, we're going to be able to cover coast to coast for healthcare clients and their various needs.
Let's talk about the actual integration for a moment. And this question is going to be for both of you, and Lauren, we'll start with you. But how do you integrate? How do you actually do this? Is there a process for the healthcare practice? Lauren, start us off.
I'm glad she gets to go first.
That's right. Well, I think it's we've never done this before, so it's new in terms of integrating. This, we've obviously acquired offices, but integrating two kind of strong, what I would consider very strong healthcare practices, is new to us. But I think logistically, we've not that this is a how to integrate, but our two groups have already done kind of a mini retreat where the Nexsen folks came down here to Birmingham, and it was great to meet each other in person, because that's such a huge part of this. And Matthew talked about kind of the culture being so similar. So it was nice to meet everyone in person. But we kind of sat down together and focused on, how do we combine the expertise of the folks here at Maynard and then the folks at Nexsen, and where does that overlap? We talked through places where maybe, Nexsen has an expertise that we maybe don't have, or we have an expertise. So we kind of did a little mini retreat of strategic planning and thinking as to, how do we put these two groups together, with the overall purpose being, how do we better serve our existing clients, and how do we show that, we potential clients, how, the depth and breadth, I think, of the practice now.
Yeah, that's very well said. It's all about the clients. That's where it starts for everybody with a merger like this. So as Lauren indicated, we did this skills inventory, experience inventory, if you will, which I owe them to write up here shortly, of where we are, who can do what, who has done what. And we start there, and then we move to, well, who do we represent, and are there commonalities there? What can we do more of for one particular client? And then maybe most exciting is, well, who can we represent going forward now that we're this collected body? And so I think that we have a communication strategy that we're working on that will be rolling out by the time of the merger. Before the merger occurs, our healthcare clients are going to hear a lot about Lauren and about other members of the Maynard team and what they can do now for our mutual clients. I think we'll also talk about a strategy for us to see what areas we need additional help in. We've got ongoing conversations with several laterals that might fill a need we have, whether it's geography or skill set. So integration is going to take a while, but I think we're well on our way toward that.
You mentioned the merger. The effective date is April 1st, 2023. Clock is ticking. Yeah. But let's stay positive and not, fret that date, because I know it's coming. But clients really will benefit from this. And this question is for both of you. Matthew, we'll start with you to put you on the spot first.
Yes. Clients are going to benefit from this in a lot of ways, because there are certain things that the folks at Maynard do a lot more of than that we have done historically. That Lauren mentioned, the private equity portfolio work. We've done some of that, but they do a lot more of that. And so I think we can expand what we can do and where we can do it for private equity clients. I also think they've got some additional depth in the tax-exempt world that we have not had recently, and that will help us because a lot of our healthcare providers are tax exempt, either private nonprofits or governmental. So those are two areas out of the gate that I know that the clients will benefit from.
Lauren, what do you see?
Yeah, and similarly, I think Matthew, your folks have a lot of experience with reimbursement, with Medicare reimbursement in particular, which is a very tricky world of lots of rules. And I think that expertise, we're excited to bring that to our existing clients. I think too, and Matthew alluded to this earlier, but just the geographic reach, healthcare is still, parts of it are still very heavily regulated by the states. When you think of the licensure rules or certificate of need rules. And so being able to go to clients and say, Maynard has offices in Alabama, California, Tennessee, Texas, New York, Florida, and now adding the Carolinas and being able to say, we've got this reach and we've got someone in these states kind of on the ground is really an added benefit to our existing clients.
It really is. And that's something that we are trying to sort of figure out strategically that, okay, which client will benefit from us being here? But some of it's already happening organically. I mean, we've already had to refer a healthcare matter that we had to someone at Maynard in Florida because we didn't have anybody down there and we didn't have anybody licensed, and that was such an easy transition. And the client didn't have to go find a separate Florida firm for a matter that we were already involved in. So I think that's just one example that we didn't have to come up with that idea. It was an organic transition, and it worked very well.
Let's talk about next the opportunities before both firms that are new once you merge together. Lauren, we'll start with you, and I smile at saying this because you probably didn't think about hosting a video podcast in your legal practice, but now you'll be able to with Taking the Pulse. But really, seriously, what else do you see on the horizon with this joining together?
Yes, well, Heather, this definitely is a new opportunity that I didn't anticipate, but it's a great opportunity for both practices, for our clients to think about, being a part of this podcast too. So that's a good one to mention. I would say too, both practices had a lot of expertise and a lot of depth to them, but before the merger. But now coming together, and this seems simple, but I think it's very true. Healthcare clients have very immediate needs sometimes when it comes to whether it's a HIPAA breach or an allegation of fraud. And now having an even larger kind of expanded team of folks who can jump in at any time to help with that immediate need, I think is a huge benefit. I think, like Matthew said, client service is at the top of the list of what we do, and being able to offer a larger team of people, I think, enhances our ability to service clients.
I completely agree with that. Another thing I think that we could do better than we could do on our own, perhaps, or at least speaking from Nexsen Pruet's perspective, is we have a much deeper, with the merged firm, litigation bench. And so whether it's a false claims defense or some other type of contractual breach, I think we can handle that matter now across multiple states very easily with the combination of the merged healthcare practice groups and the collective groups that support healthcare issues. So I think that gives us a lot more depth. I also think strategically we have the opportunity to approach clients that have multiple state locations and give them an option that they didn't have before. So we represent a couple of hospital chains that only have a hospital in either North Carolina or South Carolina. They've got hospitals throughout the Southeast, but we've never really pursued that work because we couldn't do it. Now we'll be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. And, Matthew, I've seen that with NP Strategy already. Yeah. We got a call this week from a global company, wanted us to do a global event. And one of the facilities is in Nashville. And I said, oh, by the way, April 1st, we have an office in Nashville,
right,
and
right.
they love to hear
right,
it.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about growing the practices. We know there's opportunities out there, but together you can grow this even more, I assume.
I think so, and I think that's one of the things that the strategic meetings, as Lauren indicated, we went to Birmingham, had a great meeting. We'll continue to do that before the merger. We'll hopefully have a couple of, at least 2 more in-person meetings. We're trying to figure out, all right, what area do we want to grow in and how can we best grow, whether it be in areas like reimbursement or additional compliance work for certain types of providers. As you've heard on this podcast before, we have a big life science initiative, and this is something that I think with the talent and the experience that Maynard folks have, we can really grow that beyond the Carolinas, which has been focused on to date. So I think the opportunities are really limitless. We just have to be strategic about how we go after them, because we have 17 people now doing healthcare full time, and another probably 50 when you look at the combined firm of folks who work with our healthcare clients on a daily basis.
Wow. Lauren, you get the last word.
I think too, Matthew mentioned earlier kind of practice groups that are kind of outside of our pure healthcare regulatory that I know that they, he works with often, and we do too. And some that come to mind, we think about kind of enhanced capabilities is our cybersecurity practice group.
Yes.
And they have, a real expertise. It's amazing to actually talk with them about some of the things that they understand from the security and information security world. But with California's privacy law, we bring them in on large scale HIPAA breaches. So I think about that group and their kind of national presence and ability to kind of enhance our practices. Our white collar crime group, and their kind of investigations experience. I know as soon as a client calls me and says, there's been a fraud allegation or we have some concerns, I pull them in immediately.
Right.
So just the ability to work with them. And then our healthcare public finance group that we have here in Birmingham, they're public finance, but there's actually kind of a very strong healthcare component to them where they have a lot of expertise working with hospitals and health systems and financing. And I think having the added geographical location, having the Carolinas is a real benefit, because if they work on financings kind of all over the country. But to Matthew's point earlier, if you have a hospital in North Carolina, before the merger, us doing their compliance work may not have been as attractive. But now that we have kind of boots on the ground and folks there located in the Carolinas, that those are some real opportunities that we look forward to.
Yeah, and ironically, I just got finished meeting with the Maynard public finance folks here in Columbia, so they're here and working on integration issues. So those are very good points. I would like to make one additional thing is this podcast has been great, and it's been sort of focused on the Carolinas. We've done some stuff outside of it, but hopefully Lauren will be our permanent co-host along with me and Heather, and that will add a lot. So of what we can do in this space and be able to promote healthcare and life sciences clients and colleagues and friends and initiatives.
I really am looking forward to it, just expanding this, Lauren, and just thank you for your willingness to say, all right, I've not done this before, but I'm willing.
I'm thrilled to be a part of it, and look forward to working with you all on it, and thinking about the folks that we can bring on here, that, as Matthew said, think about life sciences, things that are kind of trending in the healthcare world. We had a call yesterday with a client looking at ketamine clinics,
yes.
which is something that's trending, but lots of fun opportunities with this podcast. I'm looking forward to it.
Lauren DeMoss, Matthew Roberts, both are shareholders at the soon-to-be Maynard Nexsen law firm. That's MaynardNexsen.com. You can check it out now, and it becomes official April 1st. For those of you who joined us today, we hope you enjoyed our good news, and we look forward to expanding this video podcast. If you ever have any ideas of guests, we love to hear them. Let us know. And we just thank you for watching. We look forward to seeing you next time right here on Taking the Pulse, a healthcare life sciences podcast.